Docs, in this tutorial, I'm going to give you some things that will help you specifically in your report of findings. Now, it's a mindset on the mind of your practice members or your patients. Maybe you call them clients. Don't get hung up on the terms. The idea is when someone comes into your office and you make your recommendations, you've got to be aware of the patient's success. In other words, how do they quantify success in their mind? And I'm going to go through some things in this tutorial that I know will help you out. It's, again, for the report of findings, so please make some notes. But understand that when a patient comes in, there's going to be things that they want. They need to get accomplished and what their goals are when they come in. And of course, there's going to be some things they're afraid of. Now, some of the things they're afraid of might be utility things, like how late are you open? Do you have Saturday adjusting hours? Some very basic things. There's also things you probably see every week now that we are in a COVID state and the pandemic has really got people working less than they typically would. And let's just call it what it is. Everything is kind of slowed in the global economy. Maybe people are unemployed. Maybe they're employed, but they're not working the same hours. So they're what I would call underemployed. That's a big phrase going forwards. Please keep that in mind. So anyway, what you need to be aware of is what maybe are their limitations, what's in their mind. Between what they want and what they're afraid of really is the difference. And what I'm going to tell you, you need to focus on in your practice is what is the difference that is the difference. In other words, what is the difference that you provide that is the difference even to other people in chiropractic that are in your community. So if they have other options, what is the difference that is the difference? It's a twofer on the difference, okay? So it's the difference, that is the difference. And that really is what drives your value in the process, okay? So what is the difference that is the difference? And that becomes your value driver as to what it is that you do, okay? If we're looking at patient success, this is massive. And this is really the key to all of it is what I've got underneath here. Because ultimately, I think this is what's lacking in a lot of chiropractic offices. You see, there's a lot of chiropractic offices that they try to drive the value just with their consultation. They try to drive the value in their communication. And I teach workshops on this stuff and I know how to do that. But ultimately, you got to deliver on the promise. And you've got to deliver it in a way that it's acceptable in multiple paradigms, multiple mediums. We have medical doctors in my town that refer to me their personal injury cases, their concussions, and even their sports injury patients because we deliver the results on the promise. And that paradigm isn't just a chiropractic paradigm. It's actually something that we can show in multiple mediums. I'm in the process right now of teaching a virtual master class. So it's an online class about personal injury. And what's cool is I don't need to change my office procedures if it's a personal injury. I don't need to change my recommendations depending on who's paying. In other words, is it cash or is it insurance? And I change what the patient needs depending on how lucrative. We don't do that. We do ethical and honest recommendations. We build value, and if it's cash, they pay cash. If it's through a personal injury scenario, then it's PI. But I don't need to have all these different sets of rules. And this is why, because basically what's under here talks about the patient success. And ultimately, I think this is what holds back a lot of chiropractors. A lot of chiropractors can get to this point where they're good at getting people in. They're good at front loading the practice. And then when they front load it and the excitement's high, from that day forwards, unfortunately, there's like this slow decline by the patient because they're not clear on their patient success strategy. They don't know what it is. And so from the moment you get them in from something like a Saturday spinal screening, they slowly start to wear and lose their interest. A lot of chiropractors are still doing year care plans. Most people are unemployed or underemployed right now. So a year from now brings great trepidation with time. And I always say in the report of findings, you have to handle time before money. So year care plans, they're out. It just doesn't make sense anymore. And then to look at this success model, what you need to be doing is actually looking at the certainty of success. And what I mean by that is the certainty of success is how certain are you're going to deliver on it. Now, your confidence equals competence in the mind of the buyer. I'll say that again. Your confidence equals competence in the mind of the buyer. But the difference that makes the difference that will drive the value is actually the certainty that you have that you're going to show success at the end of the care. And I know a lot of vitalistic chiropractors that say, we don't want to talk about pain, we don't want to deal with pain. And I agree. We talk about pain on the consult up front. We address it, and then we never really talk about it through the care plan because we're delivering on the results. At the end of a 90-day care plan, we do a scientifically specific technique using x-rays, and we've done it in other countries without x-rays. But let me just explain this. Using x-rays, and I actually did a recent interview with my good friend Dr. Dan Murphy explaining how objective this is and that you'll always deliver on the success that you promise at the beginning of the care. So in other words, your certainty of success is through the roof. The patient will have success by the model you set out. And we're not talking about funny colors on scans and things that can change from time to time. I want you to hear a real quick soundbite from my friend Dan Murphy, who's one of the smartest guys in chiropractic, and his certainty of success, because it is objective, ultimately does away with this principle here, which is, are people buying what you're selling? I'm going to change that. You don't need to sell it. You don't need to push it. You don't need to cram it down their throat. And I've talked about creating buyers, but there's something really important here that they really don't buy what you sell. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Hear what Dan Murphy says about how I teach in the report of findings in a workshop called the Elements of Closing. This is what we teach in the Elements of Closing, and Dan created this in the early 1980s. He's a good friend, and I've wrapped some communication around this that'll take your practice to the next level. Check this out from Dr. Dan Murphy, who is also a professor at the great school, Life West, here in California.
If you guys can see, so that page there would then go into court. And of course, I just write for the blue flexion, for the green, I write extension. And then I grade every single joint. And sometimes they're so sloppy and so hypermobile. Sometimes they don't move at all, clear subluxation. And it's completely objective. People cannot, through a conscious effort, make any of those things different.
So by doing that templating and basically the way you would do that motion study, it's a clear indication of a subluxation, which I think is super important for chiropractors to know, right? This is an objective way to show subluxations pre-care and then show a reduction in subluxations post-care.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you saw there, it's objective. It can't be faked. And for that reason, whether it's a cash patient or a general health insurance patient, and there's been more audits for chiropractor, you're now audit proof. Or if it is a personal injury, as we're teaching in PIB's camp, you can use this same technique. So what I love about this is cash, being insurance ready or audit proof, or in a PI, you don't need to change what you're doing. And coincidentally, running scans up people's spines and having an objective finding, inter-examiner reliability, I'm not here to argue it, it's just not admissible in a court. And certainly with an audit, you'd be hard-pressed to find why you made recommendations and double-blind peer-reviewed. I'm not here to debate it. I'm just telling you this is a really cool way to get into the certainty of success that's applicable in every field and admissible in a court of law if you want to do PI. In other words, you don't need to change your system. You're buttoned down. And again, with general insurance, they're going after more chiropractors because they're easy picking. Audits are being picked up, whether you're in network or out of network. And ultimately, if you're doing this system that we teach at the Elements of Closing workshop, you will be audit proof, okay? Based on medical necessity of what you're doing. Here's the deal. When it comes to this, when it comes to are people buying what you're selling, you have to realize people rarely buy for the reasons you sell. That's huge. Peter Drucker said this best. People rarely buy for the reasons you think they're buying. Okay? You have to find out what that reason is. So in a good consult, we drive great value. It can be the difference that is the difference. And at the end of 90-day care plans, which are much less than a year care plan, we deliver on the promise every time. And as Dan Murphy said, it's objective. Every time you'll see the reduction of subluxations, which is the language you should be speaking, and it's applicable in every field. This is why I've been teaching this on multiple continents, in Australia, over in Europe, here in the US, is because it really keeps docs out of hot water. It really lets you sleep well at night. And to say that an insurance company isn't going to audit you, look, it's up to them. They can audit anybody. And I'm not saying that it's audit proof, meaning they can't choose to come after you. But if they do come after you and you can show using this system of objective findings, pre-care, post-care, subluxation reduction, I'll give you the science, I'll give you the research behind it. It's a phenomenal way to get people started. Now, I'll be really clear. I want patients in my office for a lifetime, on whatever level that is. Once a week for life, once a month for life. The truth is, I think chiropractic care should be a part of their performance lifestyle, not just pain-based. But if you don't deliver on the certainty of success, then you don't get that opportunity for wellness care. If you're doing year care plans, it's too far into the future. A lot of times people don't even finish the year care plan. They drop off in month 6, they dropped off in month 7, maybe they made it 9 months in and then you didn't see them. You don't even get to re-sign them. So if you want, join us for this Elements workshop. It is phenomenal. We are teaching some world-class information that, again, mentors and brilliant people like Dan Murphy have created and perfected. And I'll show you the journal articles where it's published. But the communication piece is what we've wrapped around it. Understanding that what people want and what they're afraid of are buying signals. That's okay. But then you've got to be the difference. That is the difference. And ultimately, I'll show you how we do these x-rays, how it is reproducible, and like I said, cash, general health insurance, personal injury. We are making chiropractors super profitable. And I won't apologize for that. I've had my critics, and they said, look, he talks a lot about money. You're right. Because I know chiropractors that are successful inside the 4 walls of their practice. It ultimately changes their perspective outside their practice. If you're struggling financially in your office, it changes your perspective on the outside, whereas it can change your attitude even towards your loved ones and your spouse. You don't need that marital stress because you're not making it in practice. If you've got a decent living, you deserve better than that. Come join us. It's an Elements of Closing workshop. And I would tell you our postgraduate studies, our postgraduate courses that I only offer to the alumni are some of the best in the profession. In other words, your step 1 is get to the elements. And then I have more things to offer you that'll help you, but you have to do the baseline. You have to do the day 1, day 2, the way I teach it. And then I can add on an associate model. I can show you how to tag in your team in what we call delegate to elevate. But I just got done teaching an associate model that was a masterclass in online. And I only offer to the docs that have gone to this Elements workshop because they fully understand these concepts. And then they have the procedures to reinforce it. It's not just good enough that you know this, you need to be able to apply it. And again, with the science and research that's there, it's been published in 4 different decades. We built the communication around it. You heard a very trustworthy Dan Murphy tell you that this is legitimate and it cannot be faked. These are objective findings. It's the way to practice into the future. And in very uncertain times, you get to be the person that holds the certainty. While your patients are living in uncertain times, you will have the certainty of success. Join us for an Elements workshop. We'll be on your continent soon. And if it's here in the US, make every effort to get to the next one. We have docs going up by about 20 grand per month. After this workshop, proven results for years, not just a theory, proven results for years. Jump a flight, come see us. It'll be worth it, and we'll take your practice to the next level. As we say, we're gonna level up your life.
Can you ever, as a person, flex your neck down and have one joint not move at all while other joints move significantly too much? Can you do that with a voluntary, conscious effort? The answer is no. The result is this templating is 100% objective. People can't fake it.